after the premiere, like the theater went crazy when Harry Styles showed up, and everyone was like, "What are you doing?" Like he's in the post-credit scene.
Yeah,
that's a massive spoiler. And so because of that, I think that they were also like, "All right, Spider-Man, like there's a lot of big stuff that's gonna happen. Like we need to make sure that it like the world premiere is as close to the release as possible." They did the same thing for Endgame too.
Yeah,
so it's not unheard of. Endgame's world premiere was on a Monday before it was released everywhere on a Friday. So, and also for that reason, I don't think they're going to really have press screenings for it. Like,
that's fair.
Like it's a very different type of movie, and they're protecting everything. Yeah.
There's going to be 3 Peter Parkers, and it's going to be so sick. If there's not, there's going to be riots in the streets.
Yeah.
Like
people will be pissed.
They have to have them. If you have Doc Ock, if Jamie Foxx is back, you're having all 3 Spider-Mans. I don't give a shit. It's going to be awesome. I'm pumped. I would hope, this is my hope, that they have Miles Morales, like the animated one in it too.
That would be insane.
And even like the Oinky Pig.
Yeah, Spider-Ham.
Spider-Ham, like Spider-Man's my favorite superhero.
Yeah.
Like I've always loved him. So like this is like my Christmas.
Yeah.
I'm so
literally
pumped.
It's 8 days before Christmas.
Yeah, I know,
it's also a Christmas movie. It's set during Christmas.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I love when I'm like getting excited about this. I can't contain my emotions. But I just I'm so pumped for it, and I love Doctor Strange.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
But so I'm confused. Is this the last Tom Holland Marvel movie? Is he going over to Sony now? Like, I don't understand that deal at all.
So here's the layout of it. Back in 2019, when they had the big falling out, originally what happened was, you remember this actually all starts with, you know that movie, The Interview, with James Franco, the Kim Jong-un one with North Korea?
Sony got hacked.
Yeah, so that's how this all kind of started, because their emails with Marvel got leaked, because all their emails got leaked. And like there was like an email leak about how they were planning to do a 21 Jump Street Men in Black crossover. Like everything that they were planning to do in 2014 got leaked by this North Korea hack. And within those emails were negotiations with Marvel Studios to bring Spider-Man into the MCU. And basically after The Amazing Spider-Man 2 with Andrew Garfield, which still did very well at the box office, but significantly short of where they wanted it to be. Like they wanted that movie to make $1 billion, and I think it made around like $700 million, which is like
$700 million.
But like when you invest so much into like marketing and budget and signing on actors like Jamie Foxx isn't cheap. No, he's an expensive dude. Deal. So like when they don't get their full return, they're like, we might have to reevaluate. So when they put Peter Parker in the MCU, it was a 5-picture deal, which was 2 solo movies and 3 outside of solo movie appearances. So those were Homecoming, Far From Home for the solos, and then Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame for the outside appearances. And so basically everyone is expected after those 5 films were up they would renegotiate, everything would be fine. Sony got like cold feet about the split because Marvel wanted to change it from, I believe it was like 90 Sony, 10 Marvel. They wanted to change it to 50-50, which they were like, absolutely not. Like, this is still our character. Like, we're doing you a favor by even letting him interact with your heroes. And Marvel saw it the opposite. We're like, we're doing you a favor by letting our heroes interact with your guy. And so
Disney scumbags.
Yeah, he left for like a month, and then they renegotiated, and they signed a 2-picture extension. Okay. So 2 is very, like, not 5. Yeah. Duh. But, like, one of those movies is No Way Home.
Yeah.
So he has one more film on this current Marvel contract, which everyone expects to be a team-up appearance. So he'll show up in, like, I don't know where he'll show up, but, like, Doctor Strange 2 comes out next year. The Captain Marvel 2. Like, I don't know. Like, he could show up in any one of these other films. But after this movie, his solo movies in the MCU, based on the contract, are done. So unless that they renegotiate, which everyone kind of expects them to,
Tom Holland needs to cry again.
Yeah, he needs to cry. He needs to go and knock on the door. But, like, yeah, I could really see it going either way. I could see him going back to Sony because based on the Venom post-credit scene, they're very much teasing that, like, those universes are going to merge.
So you don't think... Okay, so is the Spider-Man character just Tom Holland Spider-Man? Or is it, like, Miles Morales? Like, can they not use any of those characters?
It's the Spider-Man IP. So, like, Spider-Man, Venom, Sandman, Doc Ock, Green Goblin, like, any character linked to Spider-Man comes with the Spider-Man rights. So that's why Sony makes Venom movies and Morbius and Kraven the Hunter. Like, those are all Spider-Man related characters. Like, there's like, back in like 10 years ago, back when like 20th Century Fox was a thing, well, they were a thing like 3 years ago, but when they were making X-Men movies like every year, there was like this whole Venn diagram released of like which studios own what rights. And Sony had like all the Spider-Man characters, but then with like Fox had the X-Men, Marvel had the Avengers, but then there was like a gray area where like, well, Quicksilver in the comics was equally as often an X-Man as he was an Avenger. So that's why we were able to see Evan Peters be Quicksilver in the X-Men movies, while Aaron Taylor Johnson was Quicksilver in the Avengers movies, because they were like, it was a gray area where each studio kind of had the rights. So Sony, likely there are some Sony Spider-Man characters that are in that same gray area that would still be able to be used by Marvel if Sony took Spider-Man back, but a significant amount of characters that are only linked to Spider-Man or only known to be linked to Spider-Man are Sony exclusive. Like Kingpin, I guess, is one that's like a shade of gray because he's a very big Daredevil villain, but he also has a lot of comic storylines with Spider-Man. So that's one that I could see like maybe getting 2 iterations of at once.
Yeah. Why don't like the studios work together? Is it just a money thing?
Yeah. It's a money thing. It's an ownership thing.
That sucks. Just work together. It would be so much better.
It's a greedy industry. Like, you know how it is.
I know, and I hate it. Yeah. I hate it so much. Like, our films would be so much better if they would just work together. Yeah. Don't care about the money. You're still gonna make a shit ton. I bet you would make more if they work together. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Oh yeah,
everyone knows that.
Everyone knows that's the motto.
It's just, I don't know if it's ever gonna change. Probably not. Just because the way we're taught and to learn to love money, but there's a lot in me that wants it to change so bad. It's like we could all get dips in the chip. That's such a weird metaphor to use in that, but there's enough dip for everyone.
Yeah,
and especially when everyone brings their chips and their dips, like everyone could dip and chip.
Here's
what a weird fucking metaphor.
Here's a reference that might be lost on you or listeners, but I'm a big pro wrestling fan, right?
Okay.
And the hottest company on the block right now is AEW, All Elite Wrestling. They air on like the channel TNT. And they're like big time. Like they've grown significantly, but they operate like that where they have partnerships with other wrestling promotions, and so guys from the Mexican promotion AAA or the Japanese promotion NJPW or Ring of Honor or Impact Wrestling, those guys will like cross over and they'll show up on different companies, and like it feels like the Marvel universe in that sense as a pro wrestling fan, because I'm like, you never know who's going to show up on what show, but from a behind-the-scenes perspective, these companies technically have ownership over certain characters because they're contracted to them, but they work together, and like wrestling is scripted, so that's where you run into that wishy-washy area of like, all right, we're going to lend you our guy, but we don't want him to get beat in less than 10 minutes. It's like you need to make him look like a star. You can't just have our guy come in and lose in 2 seconds and then like our company looks like a joke because he's representing our company at that time. So like in what you're saying about movie studios working together, I think that there is a way to do it beyond the money factor where it's like, you know, each studio can share profits while also like ensuring that their intellectual properties are treated with kindness and respect and are elevating each other.
Yeah.
And like seeing what AEW is doing right now in wrestling, like what you say about movie studios working together to ensure like the consumer is happy, it sounds impossible from a financial standpoint, but I see it being done on a weekly basis with AEW, and I'm like, it can't happen.
Dude, just imagine like Batman and Spider-Man just like dapping up and kicking ass together.
It'd be nuts.
That'd be great.
Yeah.